spec for? All right, we got our
Game is up.
first match between Van and Shizenix. Apologies if I'm butchering your name, Shizenix. All right, it looks like Van has first ban, and we have a double fire comp, two melees, so they could always get rid of that Size Munch Wreck synergy if they took out the Gaialis or the Size Munch in this first one. But seeing that they have a Barnshee, I'm not entirely certain that that Size Munch is the greatest threat to them.
Yeah, I don't know. That size munch does threaten out the Rays, the Drakash. Neither of those and the Gyalis all don't like him. And that Barchi is not too threatened by anything but the Gyalis. So we'll see how this goes. It's a very valid point. I'm interested in seeing if the Scunch move flank comes out from Van's side. And we do have a Nagai's ban right off the bat.
There's a high potential that the Scunch move flank comes through now that they've gotten one of the mentals out of the way. Kinu, honestly, doesn't exactly pump out damage, so the only thing really threatened by it is Scunch.
Yeah, Kinu can one-shot Scunch with actually relatively minimal investment. It only requires 181 TVs and special attack to one-shot a 500 HP Scunch, but so I think the Kinu looking like Shizenix is going to bring that out. I think that's going to dissuade the Scunch move flank start.
Yeah, that's definitely the best they can to dissuade it. We'll see what they end up pressuring with on Van's side.
Yeah, if I'm Van here, I mean, there's not a lot on the side of Shizenix that wants to deal with Gallus. It's just Drakash. Really, I guess Riken can do a little bit as well.
All right, Barnshee coming through, so we're probably likely to see the Gyalis start. However, they can always bring out either of their fires or the Size Munch and pressure out that Gaialis turn 1 or turn 2.
All right, Barnshee Rise. I don't hate that. It's always nice when your opponent's getting that turn 0 play with the Kinu buff to be able to get your own with the Rise debuff. And this also will dissuade. Now that Size Munch feels a lot worse because it's going to have to take -1 speed.
All right, they come with the Size Munch. Looks like Rise will at least be pressured out turn 2. However, Rise isn't always known for staying in even turn 1, so interesting to see what's going to take place. The second ban, was that the Scunch or the Kinu? I missed that.
It was the Scunch second ban.
Scunch second ban makes a lot of sense. The melee pressure onto Drakash and the resistance towards half of Gyalis' toolkit definitely makes Scunch a fearsome opponent for Shizenix.
Agreed. What I'm actually very interested in is now with Scunch gone, with Volfrey gone. I feel like if Van wants to pick up a Drakash, it's going to be able to put in some massive amount of work this game.
Yeah, I'd absolutely agree. It honestly looks like, with the exception of the Size Munches, both of the Drakashes could really run away with the match.
Agreed. Yeah, definitely agreed. Barnshee, depending on how tanky this is, can at least withstand Drakash, but Drakash has a pretty high special defense, so Barnshee's not threatening it out like it would most fires.
Yeah, I learned that whole special defense height the wrong way earlier today. Oh no. Hold on. I am so sorry, everybody. I actually just had my game shut off. I will be right back in, and we will get into the...
I'll go ahead and just describe what's happening. So Van just picked up move flank as his last pick. Gyalis move flank was his last two. So right now Shizenix is having to decide between bringing the Raiken and the Drakash. personally, I'd be surprised to see the Riken picked. I'm surprised to see the Riken on the team in general. To be completely honest, I don't know what Riken's doing here that Cap Hire doesn't do better. But maybe it's a motivator Riken, and that Motocan can actually add a niche that no other fire can pick up right now. So, we're gonna get to find out because the Riken got picked.
All right, perfect.
So right now, good, you're back.
Yeah. Apologies, everybody. I am not exactly perfect at all this.
All right, so we got Barnshy Rays staring down Size Munch Kinu. Now, I would say Van for sure has the threat on turn one. Both his Tems threaten both of Shizanex, and Shizanex actually doesn't have a single threat towards Van. So I would expect maybe even a double swap from Shizanex.
Logos are flipped. I can deal with that. Hyper professional,
yes.
Everybody.
So I'm feeling like if Shizanex really wants to keep the Size Munch in to heat up, like even with the +1, that's ballsy because it's going to have to eat a Beta Burst. I suppose it could be Strange Vest, and that would allow it to live a little bit better. But even still, I'm not sure that it wants to eat a free Beta Burst just for this heat.
I would say the other main issue that Shizanex is currently facing is that Size Munch without a heat up doesn't exactly pose much of a threat. It definitely can pump out some decent damage without it, but staying in to get the heat up and onto this field is probably not the right call to be making. We'll see, though.
It can depend a lot on TV spreads, but this isn't like Gallus from last meta. Like Gallus last meta could eat a lot of hits, especially with the Kinu buff, and just get that heat up off. But we do see the Kinu come out for the Gallus, so that tells me the Size Munch wants to stay.
Alrighty. Let me... Oh, excellent.
He's going to eat the Beta Burst. Let's see what happens. Yeah, doing a solid 35%. That hurts.
Yep. But got the heat up off and now has the wreck potential on the field. It's not going to be doing an incredible amount to Barnshy, but Gialis can always come in with Sharp Stabs or Crystal Bite and definitely pose a significant threat. I think the pressure has certainly shifted away from Van here at the end of this first turn.
Yeah, I don't know, because Barnshy can live a C-Bite, but so basically what I'm worried about is the Van's opposing Size Munch. That was a very good switch in. I think he read the Gallus play perfectly. Size Munch can go ahead and retaliate with its own wreck and do massive damage to this Gallus. And I don't know, it depends on Van's spread for his Barnshy, whether Barnshy can survive a C-Bite and go on to smack this Size Munch.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I guess I misanalyzed the situation there. It's probably more evenly weighted when it comes to pressure than I originally let on. In the back, Raikan definitely doesn't want to eat a wreck. Volarend could always be a viable swap in. Doesn't take an excessive amount, especially considering Van Size Munch isn't currently heated up. Kinu could always come in and buff something, but it's really anyone's game so far. I don't think there's momentum leaning towards either player.
Yeah, I mean, again, it does depend on the Barnshy spread. I know my Barnshy is specifically meant to live a C-Bite.
I guess the secondary point is, would it leave or live the C-Bite into the wreck if they
Fair enough.
both
Fair enough.
attack
No,
it?
mine would not.
Especially considering Shizanex is sitting there with the +2 attack.
Yeah, this is a volatile field. I think I will agree with you that Shiznax has the advantage here. Let's see what happens. Archie
Already,
is gone.
Barnshee absolutely taken down. That's a fast size munch on Van's side.
Man after my own heart.
Yeah, truly. But Barnshee being out of commission and Size Munch being absolutely chunked definitely puts Van in a disadvantageous position here.
Well, I don't know, because now you can come back in with the rise or the raise
That's true.
and lower their speed again. That's part of why that size much as wreck went off so slowly, as it was already one speed down. Um,
I'm so used to first banning or second banning Rise that acknowledging when speed debuffs happen is something I definitely need to get a little better about.
sure enough, here it comes.
Yep.
So now, I say Van size munch is definitely the fastest thing on the field. Can Gallus live a unboosted uppercut? Probably. Probably.
I guess the only threat now is that doubling in with the Rise into the Gallus slot could potentially put Shizanex down a Tim. And Size Munch on Shizenex's side is looking relatively safe, I would argue, for this turn. I don't think anything Van can present here is going to take it down.
I would agree with you. I think Van is definitely on the back foot a little bit here because you've got a very scary monkey that on the other side that if he doesn't deal with it soon is also at the risk of getting Kinu buffed. Not only Kinu buffed, sorry, healed from Kinu.
True. It's a little bit more difficult for Van to play around low HP Tims considering they don't have a medic on their team in any format. Shizanex, if they can get a cheeky or well-timed Kinu swap in, they can certainly bring something back from Death's Door.
And honestly, right now is even a pretty free Kinu swap in. Raze doesn't typically have the offense. Ooh, we do see Demock. I like that.
Yeah, I definitely like that. It looks like Size Munch might have been going down to that speedy Gallus no matter what, so just making sure it chunked the Size Munch before doing so is good. Resistant coming through on Gallus and making it live. That's a bit of a rough turn for Van. However, we'll see if they have anything in the back that could potentially outspeed Shizenex's Gallus, especially with the -1 speed debuff. Their own Gallus might be a contender there, as well as Mooflank, but the fear of a wreck getting off, even at that -2 speed, considering that 3 prio boost from Synergy, might mean that Gallus is not exactly safe for Van. And even
Well,
if
what's really interesting is the very last patch changed it so that if Gallus dies before Rec goes off, then Rec doesn't get the synergy buff, including the prio. So it will be a slow Rec if that Gallus dies. I think I disagree with Van bringing the Gallus out here. I think just in case anything does have to eat a wreck, it might have been a little safer to pump out the move flank, but
Alright, the Size Munch goes down, no wreck this turn, and Gallus going down, only getting off a little bit of damage onto the other Gallus. Leaves Van with a much better field than a turn prior. Let's go ahead and see what's in the back one more time. Raikan, Voloran, and Kinu.
so yeah, we'll see what this Raikan was meant to do, but right now it's not that scary.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, though, Kinu being such a pain, you know, it's not likely to stay in. Doesn't want to stay in here. It's still got a lot of value just by giving the +1 to Raiken.
yeah. We might quickly see Kinu shuffle out for Volorend, which is exactly what's happening right now. So even if they double target it with a Crystal Bite and a Embers, it is not going to go down.
No, but it is going to hurt.
Fire Tornado going off on the Volorend. And that was an absolute wallop from the Embers on that Raikan towards Gialis. Either a very frail Gialis or a super offensive Raikan.
I would say frail guy Ellis because even max attack Raiken, Embers just doesn't chunk that hard. Yeah, what's interesting here is that with this Valorant now being so low, I'm not sure that I actually agree with the Kinu swap anymore. Because Raze can take out Kinu, but it can't take out Valorant, so sacking the Kinu there and waiting for the Gialis to die may have been the play.
Additionally, that move link in the back is sitting at full HP as it comes out right now. So getting potentially Goring up for next turn where it can take out that Volorend could go a long way.
You can get the speed buff from Val.
Yeah. The only issue I currently see is I'm not entirely sure how Van is going to kill this Raikan, especially with the move flank getting chunked so much, and Kinu having the potential to heal this thing at the end of the turn. And the secondary buff goes so far.
Yeah, Kinu just being its obnoxious self as usual, just by switching it and making something from, a 0/0 Raiken right here is in danger from getting maybe half health by a Goring and then Gallus picking up the rest with a hook kick. But just because Akinu swapped into it twice, now it's +2/+2, you're going to need quite a few more attacks to take that guy out.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It also looks like this turn, I believe, Raikan might have Fire Tornado or Meteor Swarm up.
It has both.
So it could easily hit both slots here. And if it has Prideful, that's pretty terrifying.
Only a 20% coming out from a Goring on, thanks to those Kinu buffs, the +2/+2. And yeah, that Gallus is dead. This is over.
Yeah. Prideful, proccing, it was already game, like you said, but that just cements it.
So we'll see now. I mean, there's nothing. This is just over, but we'll see if it's going to be a long, drawn-out Embers slam or if he can send out some Fierce Claws. It's going to be the Embers slam.
Beta Burst doing a heftier chunk than the Prideful Raikan. Makes sense with the resistances, but definitely helps speed things along.
It's part of the reason why Raikan is not considered to be anywhere near as strong as all the other fire types right now, even with the Prideful, because its only attacking move has got to be that Embers. And as you can see, it's not that strong of an attack.
Yeah, it definitely looks like this is a physical Raikan with the Meteor Swarm Embers combos we've seen so far. It would be interesting. Alright, first game goes to Shizenix, so well played. Well played to both players. And we will find out who we are spectating in just a second here.
So most Raikens will go ahead and run the Fire Tornado anyway, even if they are physical, because prior to Flaming Meteorite, there was no decent um, like physical fire move that you could just get a chunk out of things. Raiken being the only fire type not to get access to flaming meteorite means that's part of the reason why it's considered lagging behind all others.
Yep. That was a rough update for Raikan. It was hopefully getting more utility, and it really didn't get it.
As somebody who loves the lion, I'm hoping that it gets some sort of signature move. I'm hoping like a hold zero or hold one physical fire type that maybe around 100 damage. I'd love to see that just because I think that would make Pridekin a new monster.
Additionally, I believe the Ryber Raikan line doesn't have any moves with 3 priority currently. So any sort of move with priority would definitely liven up their moveset a little bit. I might be
Yep,
incorrect
that
with
is
that.
very accurate. No, 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 you are correct. At least no relevant moves. It might get like kick or something.
Very true. Kick can come in clutch sometimes. I've had a couple matches where Kick decided things, humorously enough. It's just whether you actually want Kick occupying a slot is the greater question. I think I'm definitely a fringe case where I don't have that many great moves to occupy the slot, so Kick does the job.
That is game one, however, going to Exotic French.
Yep. Let's see.
So if I understand the rules of Club Wars correctly, and maybe the referee or somebody can correct me if I'm wrong here, but that means that Van is out and cannot be played again for the rest of this particular war. But if they want to bring in Becky again, then that'd be totally fine.
Yep. I believe that Club Wars is a first of 5 with 5 distinct combatants on either side. And just like you said, it is a lose and you're out scenario.
So now the decision is going to be: is Exotic French going to bring in another tamer, or are they going to go ahead and send in the same team again so as not to reveal their hand for future Club Wars?
One more thing to be considered is if Shizanex is staying in or not. They know that he has a melee and fire heavy team. So if Exotic has let me make sure I'm referring to the proper teams to the proper players. If Transcend has someone on their side that hard counters melee and fire, that might be an advantageous swap. But who knows if Shizanex is staying in?
Yeah, I actually feel like that could be a very interesting Club Wars strategy in general. Play kind of I guess I'll call it even a gimmick team. Not that I think what we just saw was a gimmick team by any sense, but as you mentioned, play something with some obvious weaknesses like heavy toxic or heavy melee, heavy fire. Play that round one, and then go ahead and put that guy on the back burner, because so that way they can't just pivot into a counter for round two, and then you could always bring them back later.
Yep. Alrighty. Yeah, we're just waiting on the next picks. The teams are currently deliberating, so really appreciate the patience from everyone. And to everyone who's followed the stream, I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for the support. Apologies for not acknowledging it during the match. I just didn't want to take away from casting. But Trot, Evil, Mr. Rishi, Checker Red, Zebra, and Irie Tricoli, and Mashukar, thank you so much for the follows. I really appreciate it. I'm super happy to be able to help cast this event with Argurotoxis here, and thanks so much for Tickles to helping set this up for us one more time. What are weaknesses? Yeah.
Yeah, big shout out for Tickles and anybody in general who's helping out the competitive community in Temtem because the more life we can breathe into this, the more likely the game's going to be successful in my mind. So I'm having a good.
Yeah, I'm absolutely on the same wavelength with that one. Anybody who's enthusiastic about comp is somebody I am excited to interact with, and I feel like this game has such a wonderful community. There's really an abundance of people who are willing to help beginners learn, and amongst even the people who have dumped hours into this thing, myself included, there's a really good relationship between most of the community.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's a tight knit community because of how small it is, which is actually sort of why I'm excited to see some more of these players coming in. Like I said, I don't normally see people from Exotic French or Transcend in some of the other tournaments, so I like getting some more exposure.
Yeah, definitely learning about some new players that I wasn't keeping my eye on previously is always a delight. Means that if I ever manage to climb higher on ladder, I could potentially recognize a name here or there. You're more likely to run into them than I am.
Potentially. You never know where people are, and you're almost a 1K yourself.
We'll see. I'm mid 800. I'd love to get to 1K. That'd be the dream. We also have Senior Plat in chat right now. The Plus OP tournament winner from yesterday. Shout outs to them. They played excellent, as did Dave in the finals. That's a fantastic finals. If anybody wants to check that out, I would highly recommend it. Well,
And to
apologies.
answer
Oh, I was gonna say.
Senior Platt's question, um, go ahead and let Valorant through, Matt, and let me know if Heavy Toxic has no weakness.
Yeah, I am part of the Instaban Vola committee. I do not have many ways to deal with that bird, and when I let it through, it's always a hard fight.
Yeah, I just actually had to change my team.
In
Uh,
reference to Valorant.
I think I lost 3 or 4 games. Now, if somebody has both Nagayas and Anaerobic Valorant, my current team couldn't deal with it because I have to ban the Nagayas, and then Anaerobic Valorant would eventually run my team over.
Yikes! Yeah, anaerobic does a number on my team most of the time too. I typically get hard countered by that and Nagais, as you just mentioned. Both of those just kind of run a train on me, and I feel like they run a train on a lot of players, especially people who are still learning the game. You really have to build your team composition often in reverence and respect for those two Tims. The
I
trick
absolutely agree.
or the trick room deceit aura component of Nagais is something that I've struggled a lot with the game, but I'm pretty happy it exists. It offers some very interesting play options for players, especially for some of the slower and in the past considered a little bit weaker Tims.
I agree with you there. I definitely like it. Got Prater in chat asking you if you'd be 1800 TMR if you played an adult comp.
I have no idea. I'm so acclimated to low TMR that I feel like if I start running against higher TMR players, I would have a lot more difficulty than previously. I mean, that comes with the territory, but that's an optimistic view, and I appreciate it. All right, it looks like we have our second game, which is Shiznix versus Glossman. So we're going to hop in right now. Also, thanks to Quarter helping run things from behind the scenes, too. Fantastic
Yeah,
caster and a generally wonderful guy.
Quarter, as you guys see him in chat here, far thing. Always involved, always helping out. Just a stand up gentleman all around. Going back to the game, however, we do have the guys getting first banned. We're going to have gentlemen's and the guys banned.
All right. I'm actually going to briefly adjust these logos during pick ban so that we don't have them covering any of the Tims involved. Logos on bottom middle? I can absolutely do that.
We were hovering the gentlemen's and the guys band. You know, I have half a mind to pronounce the guys differently every time I mention its name.
I certainly don't know the proper pronunciation for it.
Glossman deciding that nope, Gallus is what we have. Nagi's can continue through.
Alrighty. Hopefully that's a little bit better for everybody. Senior play with the Nagaise. Alright. Volfi coming out threatens the Nagais as well as the Size Munch. So it'll be interesting to see how Shizenix counters this initial opening.
Oh, what's interesting is his next does decide to go Nage's. It can Madness buff before the plague goes off, assuming it's the Seed Order.
Additionally, the Adoraboros on Glossman's side, with looks like 4 mental partners, or sorry, 3 mental partners total, 4 mentals on the team, gives it a lot of leeway to make sure that it gets at least Cyclab synergy available. We'll see whether or not it gets utilized.
Shizenix hovering the Nagaise. Does he? Yes, he does. Goes ahead and locks in that Deceit Aura monster. I actually think this is going to get interesting.
Glossman hovering over the Size Munch briefly. I don't know if that's the... Okay. That is indeed what they're going with. It looks like they might be taking advantage of potentially a slow Size Munch here. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that Size Munch really likes looking down at GC.
Yeah. Alright. That Drakash in the back is a smidge threatened by, it looks like Size Munch could do a number on it, as well as Volfi with a well-timed Dust Vortex. It also will at least be in an advantageous position towards the Kinu, Nidrasil, or the Mix. So that's great. Also getting one more Tim on Shizenix's side that has AoE damage means that the Mix will have to be a little bit more careful coming in the future.
Definitely. And in reality, I think part of the reason Glossman did decide to go for the Size Munch, even though it's not really looking down a pleasant opener, is because if Rykin and Drakash are on the side of Shizenix, without the Size Munch and with Nagai's being banned on Glossman's side, he's going to have a rough time with fires.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those pick by necessity situations. Didn't net you a huge advantage at the beginning of the game, but it might land you that late game momentum that you need.
Yeah, that's always a decision you got to make with your opener. Do you want to have a strong lead, or do you pick something that you're afraid they're going to ban away from you? I think it's one of the interesting things about the pick-man process.
Additionally, with the Volphy out on the field, um, and potentially handcuffs in play, whether Shizanex leaves either one of these Tims on the field, they could be in danger turn 2.
Glossman in his underwear versus Shizanex showing his chest. Let's see.
Yeah, Shizanex flexing the Discord hat, and Glossman flexing the pink frosted tips.
You bring up a good point, though. If the guys, if even if it does decide it wants to eat a plague, it will be in danger of a sea spikes later. But that might not matter if Raiken or Jakash is on the field, because does Mix really want to be in versus that?
Yeah, especially with Deceit Aura. We're assuming Deceit Aura in play. Raiken being a slow Tim.
Honestly, with Kinu in the back, if I'm Shizanex, I just go ahead and bring in Kinu here. Madness buff on the guys, and then that plague's not doing much, and then I have an ability to revitalize turn 2 if I need.
I think that would be a great play. The only conundrum I could see with that is what exactly Negais is threatening turn 2, especially if Size Munch ends up leaving. I know that the totally butchering the name of Negais' signature move, the call from the depths one. Do you happen to remember what that's called?
Yeah, the guys is Fury.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That can do at least neutral damage to the Volphy, and Volphys are not especially chunky unless you specifically build them that way. So like you said, the Madness buff into Fury could definitely do a number.
Well, it's not going to want a Fury because Volphy is most likely running Team Elusive, which means it will just not be hit by Negais' Fury.
You are very correct. There's a reason I lose to Volphys a lot. It definitely has to do with my memory.
But that said, it still doesn't want to necessarily eat a beta burst. We'll see what happens, though. Size Munch is leaving, as we thought. And Kinu coming out to buff the Volphy. Oh, I hate Kinu.
You and me both.
We do see the Madness buff, so I do expect the Plague coming out here. That is a pretty chunky Volphy.
Alright. And the Plague into the Raiken slot. Either, I'm assuming locking it in for the Dust Vortex turn 2?
Maybe, but I gotta be honest.
Raiken,
I'd say it's in danger from a beta burst and embers here.
Yeah,
Taking it
Raiken.
out, and
I think Raiken definitely likes this field. Additionally, is Meteor Swarm online, or is that one more hold?
it is online. However, again, Volphy dodges it, so
You are
not
very
the best
correct.
play. Meteor Swarm actually is only like, I'm gonna try my memory here. I think it's only like 70 power, maybe.
Yeah, it gets most
So,
of its advantage from the dual slot attack, but that doesn't do it, like you said, anything to Volphy. So I think
Could be 75 power. I can't remember, but yeah, it does It does not do significantly more damage to one Tem, especially for the stamina cost and the lack of burn. If this Raiken is slower than Volphy, which I don't know, could be, doubt it, but it could be, then it could at least get a burn off on Volphy, reducing that Dust Vortex by 30%, and then I believe Raiken could live it.
also got a Fire Chip on the Raiken, and I don't know if Glossman's wild enough to be playing a Lullaby Kinu out here, but if so, there's always the potential that the Raiken could be put to sleep before it does anything.
Unfortunately, Lullaby is actually
Oh,
freehold
you're
or two
so
hold,
right.
so it's not up yet. But your point stand. Oh, the stone wall trying to protect it a bit. Here comes the embers. Not enough. That stone wall probably just saving it. Oh no!
And leaving the Raiken alone, surprisingly, but chunking the Nagais a little bit.
I couldn't disagree with that play a whole lot more.
Yeah, I think it was important to aggro towards the Raiken and get a chunk on it while possible. But maybe they swap priorities towards the Nagais in expectation of trying to eliminate it with Mix, just to free up the Size Munch to kind of run over the remainder of the team, with the exception of Kinu. But I don't think that netted Glossman a tremendous amount of momentum, and I would actually argue the opposite.
I mean, honestly, if you really want to bring in Mix on a field like this, I mean, you're just begging for Riken to Meteor Swarm and do some big damage.
Or even just embers into you, honestly. There's not much of a threat to Raiken, especially considering it looks like Volphy is going down this following turn. And those
Yeah, the other thing that really hurts about this Volphy going down like this. Okay, it's not going down yet, but I think it's pretty much useless.
yeah, it's at least very useless on this Deceit Aura field. So looks like they're bringing it into the back just to try and utilize it later when this Nagais is out of the picture. But making sure it's out of the picture is going to be easier said than done. Likely we're going to see a Toxic Ink from the Doroboros in an effort to get rid of this thing. But that might be only after it chunks something on Glossman's side with that +2 special attack.
I mean, seriously. Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't disagree with this line of play a whole lot more. Right now, if Shizanex wants to, we could bring in the Kinu and buff up that Nagais again, and then it's probably not going down with another buff. Alternatively, Raiken could just stay in a Meteor Swarm, and look at how much just the Embers did to Boros.
Additionally, people in chat talking about Psychic Collaborator. Even if Psychic Collaborator goes off here, that's probably going to be after the Raiken already chunks something, and I don't think Raiken's likely to go down here. Psysurge
Here comes
likely
the
into a
Meteor
Meteor Swarm. Yep. And Nagais will be living to the end of this turn, which I think spells a very dire situation for our contender here.
Wow. We just watched three 1 prio moves go off back to back to back, and I'm guessing that's what Glossman was thinking, was that it could buff up that Adora with the stone wall, but I don't know if he just forgot that Meteor Swarm was 1 prio. It's possible, but unfortunately that play did not work out for Glossman here.
And humorously, the speed from Prideful working against Shizanex here, but I think there's already so much momentum in their side of the court that they're not particularly concerned about that.
Well, the thing I feel like a lot of people forget is, while yes, the speed buff works against Raiken while it's on the field with the guys, I mean, look how much effort has been put into killing that Nagais compared to this Raiken. So now if the Nagais goes down, that Raiken has its real speed buff. Or, Shizanex could just decide, I'm swapping the guys out and Raiken's going fast. Shizanex gets to control when that Raiken's fast now.
Additionally, there isn't too much of a reason for Nagais to even leave. It's done its job, and then some, I would argue. It doesn't get an incredible amount of value against anything but the Size Munch here, so potentially saving it for that, I guess I could argue would be advantageous here. But Seismunch is not looking exactly safe to most of the field. Kinu can chunk it, as well as Volarin can hit some pretty heavy neutral damage into it.
Yeah, there's no more plague on the side. There's no more trapped on the side of Shiznax. I mean, if he doesn't bring in Kinu here to eat the dust vortex, okay, we'll see what happens.
Volarin.
He says, I want Valorant on the field. Okay. Interesting.
Seismunch coming out. A double swap.
Can we get the famed quadruple swap? The quadruple swap!
A full field reset from the contenders here. Both Glossman and Shiznix deciding this is not what I want out right now.
Well, all right. I mean, hell, you don't see that very often. So we have an entirely new field here to kind of investigate. I actually do think Glossman got the better of that trade. I don't know if it was enough for him to claw this game back, but this is definitely a good reset.
Yeah, certainly. The Crystal Spikes pressure from the mix towards the Kinu, as well as at least getting a hold on Seismunch is so important with Dim Mak being in its moveset. Even if something resists it, it has the potential to finish it off if they get it low. But Kinu's staying out here.
Yeah, I'm afraid it's not going to... Ooh, that's a squishy monkey.
Yep, that might be a dead monkey, and that's a fast bird with Blizzard going off before anything on Glossman's side.
Oh,
potentially.
Oh no, did we have a DC? Oh no.
Yeah, that's looking like a disconnect, unfortunately. I'm gonna... Or potentially running out of time, considering how quickly that went.
Ooh. Possibly they'll let us know. Glossman or Transcend in general could tell us. But yeah, that could have just been a timeout.
Looks like Lodi is...
Something. Go ahead.
Or with Lodi Dodi still hitting off an attack, I would say I'm inclined to think it was likely a timeout.
Well, what's possible? I know a lot of teams, especially those that are newer to playing in voice chat together, they may have just made too long making decisions there. Always got to watch that clock. And Tiki Book talking about there's a bug where he had like 3 seconds left, and then the turn would get skipped. I would say if that bug is true, somebody please go report it. But in the meantime, maybe make sure you always have about 10 seconds left on your clock. Unfortunately, with that turn, I do not believe there's a way for Glossman to pull this one back.
Nah, I think that was an unfortunate forfeiture of momentum for them.
Such a shame after getting a nice field reset. But yeah, the double kill, that is now a +3/+3 Raikkonen. This is why I actually really do love Raikkonen, but unfortunately it just doesn't have the move pool. But I do love the snowball nature of Prideful. Got to pick off the Volpe with another Feather Gatling. That'll be the match. Round 2 also going to Shiznix and Exotic French. At this point, I think you got to go ahead and leave him in and see if you can pull in the 5-0.
Yep, so much momentum towards them. Alrighty. And
it is very interesting to see Shiznix coming out strong with the Pridekin too. I mean, I I will still, even after having seen those matches, say Pridekin is the worst fire type available right now, but he's making it work for him. Just because it's the worst fire type doesn't mean it's bad, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Alrighty. Pardon me. I'm very much an OBS noob, but I'm attempting to arrange this as asked. Getting the scoreboard on the field, and
I do think that Raikkonen is worse than Honor here, yes. Matt Gia pointing out potentially that Prideful with Naga could be a very interesting. That's a good point, actually. That could be a very interesting niche for Raikkonen. Giving it the ability to go fast both under Deceit Aura and then when Deceit Aura is away for it to go fast with Prideful. That's a good point. Perhaps I have underrated my favorite lion. Yeah, and to the chat, I don't want anybody thinking that I'm like a Raikkonen hater or anything. I played the crap out of it last meta. I actually love the damn thing. I just didn't think it had much of a niche, but Senior Plat bringing up the idea, because I've seen Ray's Nagai's used often side by side for a similar man. You get speed control with or without Deceit Aura, but it's a decent option. I might have to give it a shot.
alright, looks like we got our next match set up before I get the scoreboard aligned. So apologies for the slight unprofessionalism there.
All right, Kyuju. Now I do know Kyuju from a couple of tournaments, and wow, what a team!
Yeah, Kyuju with the Turok and the Annie here. Some seldom seen Tims, and rocking the pig from the old meta into Shizenex's team for the third time, like you said.
And even the Loali isn't often seen. I think Loali is much better than the meta has given her credit for. But anyway, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're totally good. I was gonna say it looks like they agree with your point that keeping them out. They've already had so much success with them. Why not continue on?
Yeah, and I'll be surprised if we don't see the guys picked up again for Shizenex, because it has done work for him thus far. Yep. Unfortunately, the guys is just an absolute monster. Now, I think, you know what? Kyuju probably saying, go ahead, pick your guys. I'm just going to sweep your ass with Turok and Honor here. If you do, but Shizenex responding saying, yeah, let's see it. Unfortunately, the danger of picking something like Turok is that giving Seismuch a free heat up. It's not quite as bad as giving Gallus a free heat up from last meta, but it's still pretty damn dangerous. Fedoro does threaten Seismuch heavily, though, and also threatens the guys, so I like that pickup from Kyuju. And I hope I'm pronouncing Kyuju right. I'm just guessing. I honestly really do like this. The Turok does well into pretty much Shizenex's entire team. except for potentially the size munch guys. So outside of this lead, Two Rock is a happy bird.
Alrighty.
Yeah, so we're hovering pig. I haven't seen a whole lot of pig. Just a couple players playing it up in the ladder where I'm at. So we'll see what he's doing here. This is just an off the wall team. Who would have guessed that Two Rock, Adora Boros, Pigapec would be the anybody's first 3 picks?
Not a lead you would anticipate seeing. I don't think I've ever seen Turok Boros paired together. Um, so I'm interested to see how this will progress. Turok, I would argue, looking somewhat threatened on this turn 1 and even more so in the turn 2.
A little threatened turn 1. Two Rock has a very high defense, so it could probably eat an unboosted uppercut without much of an issue. And the beta burst would hurt it, but not terribly. But I don't know. For the life of me, I can't figure out why the decision for Two Rock, other than possibly, I guess, hey, Two Rock does really well against everything except for size munch guys. So maybe that's probably the reasoning, to be honest. I would expect the Two Rock to swap out for something turn 1.
Same. Just what will be a safe swap? Voloran's a potential candidate. Pigapic is also a potential swap in. And we might even see the Anahir get picked up. But I don't know how great that's going to operate with the Size Munch, Gialis, and Raikan all being present. Raikan at least doing neutral damage, and if it happens to be packing Sand Splatter, which it shouldn't be considering it embers the Rise to Death previously. It's just not an incredibly safe field for it.
He does take the Anahir. I disagree. I think Loali was the pick, but I'm not upset to get to see Anahir in a game. You know my favorite thing about Anahir Workman?
What is your favorite thing about Anahir?
Is that once it gets an evolution, it'll be Little Cup viable.
Oh, you know what? Once it gets an evolution, it's getting first banned by me every time.
Alright, so again, I would expect the Two Rock to get out of here. However, maybe it drops a Nox Bomb on the new guys. Maybe.
Yeah, potentially. And if this was my TMR, I would argue that there's even a threat of the Schween's Horn Noxious Bomb from the Turok onto the Size Munch. But I think there's a likely chance that's not the case.
I think you gotta beta burst this Size Munch.
Absolutely.
Can't let this thing just get the free. Unfortunately, Kinu's still a possibility for Shizanex because Kinu is just such bullshit. But that would allow a Kinu swap would allow Size Munch to probably heat up. I'm not going to say safely because it's still going to eat a good chunk from that beta burst, but it's going to allow it to heat up with less threat.
Additionally, I know I was a little bit preoccupied adjusting things with OBS during the pick ban, but was Adoro, had they have any Psychic Collaborator partners, or potentially we might be seeing a Toxic Skin Adoro here, if that is the case. Okay, potentially expecting a swap with the Stone Ball and Toxic Ink in the Size Munch here.
I'm really curious what he was thinking of swapping to, though. Gialis didn't care about... Oh, maybe he thought the Kinu was coming in on that side, but...
Yeah.
I actually don't know. I don't know what the thought process behind that particular um,
Seismunch,
play was.
Seismunch getting the heat up off means that it certainly threatens Turok, the secondary turn. However, Toothless with the Beta Burst, or that amazing 1 point of damage Psychic Collaborator could definitely threaten out Seismunch here.
Tiki Book saying that he predicted a swap, but my point, Tiki Book, is that I don't know what he predicted a swap to. Because Raiken, Gyalis, Kinu were the only options. So I guess unless he thought that he was going to Kinu buff then the guys, but then why bother to why stoneball that slot if you thought Kinu was coming in? I don't know.
I think they were trying to cover their options there with the Stone Ball and Tink. Stone Ball hitting effective on Gyalis and Raikan, and the Tink covering the Kinu. But I think the last thing they were expecting was the monkey to stay in.
It would seem as such.
Alright, energy manipulation coming out. Getting
I think
that okay. A handcuffs Adoraboros. Can't say I've seen that before.
I think this is going to be the toxic skin. This is looking like a support Adoraboros that's meant to spam Tink and trap people in.
Yeah, I would certainly agree. It also, this Seismunch has been put in a little bit of a dire scenario with this turn 2. With Emanip doing as much as it did, a Beta Burst paired with a secondary Emanip will likely put this monkey out of commission before Kinu has the chance to heal it a second time.
There's no Beta Burst coming out. I don't think. I think if Beta Burst were an option, we'd have seen it by now. Personally, so I think Beta Burst is non-existent. But I still stand with your point of. I think the Seismunch is dead.
With the pig coming out, it's interesting to ponder what this pig is going to be doing. It doesn't particularly threaten the Kinu or the Seismunch, but potentially a stone wall or a bamboozle, some sort of supportive move might be coming out here onto the Adoraboros, because I don't think the Pigapik is going to be getting an especially large amount of value for the remainder of the game, other than simply dying and taking something with it. Definitely seems like they're utilizing it as a damage sponge. We have Gyalis coming out, so the wreck being utilized.
I think this is about to be a poison monkey.
We'll see. No, it is indeed a collaborator Adoro, or synergy master. And Tornado into Toxic Ink on the Seismunch. I definitely would agree with your statement now. I do not think there is Beta Burst in that lineup.
Yeah. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately. I guess I shouldn't root for anybody. I just feel like I'm on QG's side because that's the side that I'm spectating, right? But it's looking like Shizanex here. I mean, he's got kill potential on Adoraboros from Gyalis before Doro can move, and if he wants to, he could just go ahead and kill that pickup pack too with the Seismunch.
Yep.
A quick uppercut. I'm assuming, I actually haven't checked the speeds, but I'm assuming it's fast enough to outrun and kill.
Additionally, with that poison tick only being, or their health only being at 17.2, that poison tick is not going to take it out. And it means that if they can outspeed this turn, they can threaten next turn as well, with the monkey still being alive. However, I do think Seismunch would potentially overexert from an uppercut here. Dimmock coming out onto the pig, taking it out.
I think he's fine with that. Oh my gosh, and the predict.
Wow. Annie here getting chunked by a hook kick. And I think, like you said, all the momentum is now in Shizenix's favor.
I think Kyuju basically saying, I think Shizenix basically saying, I don't really care about that Adoro. It doesn't seem to be able to do anything, so I'll either hit it with the hook kick and be fine, or I'm going to catch something on the switch. Good choice. Good choice.
Now, hook kick being down means that the Turok is slightly less threatened. However, the Kinu buff onto the Gialis means that I would assume it's likely to at least live the stone ball. So Anna here is probably doubling in here with a Meteor Swarm.
I don't think there's a chance in hell that that Turok is awake if Kinu stays on the field.
That's true as well, especially with the I believe that's iron coating. The iron coating revealed, meaning that they know it's a free hypno.
We'll see what happens, but yep.
Alright, double gash and hypnosis as you expected. That Turok is resting up, and Anna here with the Meteor Swarm is not going to
This will do a lot, but it's not going to do enough. And looks like Anna here had the war drum, but just got snared off, so...
Yeah, with the War Drum and Meteor Swarm, coupled with the Stone Ball that didn't happen, that Gialis would have been toast. But now that it's lived yet another turn, I think Kyuju is facing a very problematic scenario. Even a secondary double gash into the Anna here will take it out, potentially saving the hook kick damage for another turn. And Kinu can just revitalize into Gialis here. It looks like it's certainly one of Shizenix's win cons. You've got a plethora to pick from.
I think we're going to see that exact line of play.
Stone
ball.
Even
worse.
Yeah, and now this Gialis
that's just rude.
It's just nigh unkillable. Volerend isn't going to be able to chunk through that physical defense unless this thing is a special attack invested Volerend, but I would argue those are pretty rare.
So for all the chat hype of on here, it basically came out and died.
Yeah, no mineral rain in this match, sadly. Or no quad anti-here kill. That was a wild game.
Shizenix playing extraordinarily well, honestly. So let's go over like what has happened here. All of Kyuju's resources were spent killing that size munch. He basically took out his Pigapeg and most of his Adoraboros just to take out the size munch. And with Kinu here, he came as soon as size munch was down. With this Stonewall, Kinu comes right back out and says, "Okay, well, I'm just going to go ahead and make Gialis the next raid boss." So, I mean, that's just so much that he has to chew through now.
Additionally, now with the Volerend asleep, Fury could come off pretty uncontested. It would obviously wake it up, but it would certainly put the Turok out of commission, leaving Adoraboros, I think, the only potential swap in, but with the additional synergy damage, there's not even a guarantee that Adoro will live that, especially if the Kindu decides to double in.
Yeah, I'm not even sure you need to bother with the Fury just yet.
I would definitely agree. I think you save it until there isn't a back line and you have the confirmed kill. We could also very easily see yet another stone wall thrown out here with the reverse priority. Or sorry, not stone wall or stone ball. I believe we could see another stone wall. Tongue
No,
twister that
yeah,
would
you're
be.
absolutely right. Let's see what happens. Turok says, "Nope, I'm out of here. I don't want to eat that fury." So Toothless, which I do love that nickname coming in. Oh my god.
Yeah, Madness buff predicting this just is going to be a safe turn and the Revitalize, saving the stone wall for later and adjusting for that Madness buff damage. This is looking pretty curtains.
I actually generally don't agree with that Madness buff. Um, just because I think just a stone wall would have been better there. Because this Valorant is going to be hitting it with Nox bombs, and that Madness buff didn't do a lot for it. And honestly, I think a beta burst just into that left slot. I'd be shocked if that Adora would live a beta burst. Um, I guess it could. Adora has pretty high special defense. Definitely ain't living it at a +2.
Psysurge going out, putting the Adoro out of commission, and guaranteeing that if this Nagais can live this next turn, which the stone wall is going to go a long way, um, that Turok is not coming out to a field it enjoys here. And with the double screen complementing the stone wall, that is going nowhere.
Yeah, that's one I didn't consider actually. Since Vala was asleep, he could just Madness buff, Revit, and then Stonewall, and basically have the best of both worlds. So I retract my earlier point on the Madness buff. I still think it was unnecessary,
It was a little bit
but
greedy for the momentum that was already in their in their court.
yeah, I think this is a case of a player not just closing out the game when they can, but being far enough ahead that it doesn't matter.
It's just now a question of how many turns this Valoran's going to be alive, because I think the Turok likely dies this turn. I think an even potentially crazier read that might have netted them some momentum would have been stoneballing into their Valorant to wake it up.
Yep. Yeah, that would have been Matt Gia in chat, Senior Plat, mentioning that was a line of play. That's why, in general, I think that Madness buff was a mistake, but it did work out for him. Again, he was far enough ahead that even that mistake, I don't think would have cost him the game, even had it been read correct.
Yeah, could have swung some momentum back, but I agree with you. I don't think it would have been enough to secure this with Raikan and Gialis able to kind of bully this bird on their own. Nagais being alive doesn't change much.
And Anaerobic Vala, doing what Anaerobic Vala does best. It ain't going down for anything.
Yep. The resident tank of the meta, I would argue. And a Crystal Bite. The bird is not living that.
Nope. And Shiznex taking game 3. Holy crap, man. Shiznex, you are just tearing it up. Transcend is going to be fearing your name on ladder from today forward.
Alrighty. Everybody seeing that I'm trying to be friends with Small. I'm okay with leaking that.
Small Chameleon, come on, man.
And now we are just waiting for the next lineup of players. But if I was Exotic French, I'd just send Shizenex out again. Like, don't deprive him of glory if they can accomplish more. I say him. Don't deprive them. I don't want to assume.
I mean, at this point, honestly, not only is it like the right thing to do for Shiznix because you got to give the guy a shot at the 5-0 now.
Yep.
Um, but not only that, I think strategically for the long term of Club Wars, it's wise because for any other clubs, like say Paradox Engine, that are watching this, there's not a lot of information that they can glean out of what Exotic French has from watching. If Shiznix just 5-0, we'll only learn about the one player.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. The long-term advantage coupled by I guess the short-term attempt at glory definitely would lead me to believe that Shiznix is just popping out here again.
Yeah, I think it's the only way to go. I don't want to sell Transcend short, though. I think they've had some good matches. They've had some good calls. I just can't seem to bring down the Shiznix. I do think, my personal opinion, for anybody in Transcend listening to the stream, try banning that in the guys.
Yeah, seriously. That Nagais and the speed flip has caused so many problems. At this point, I would assume Transcendence is wishing they could ban a player.
Possibly.
Put Shiznix on the bench for a match.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I think in general you keep your heavy hitters for the end. I mean, I am very new to Club Wars in general, but I would think you want to keep your heaviest hitters for the back.
Yeah,
you know,
just your anchor, same as any other team event. You definitely want somebody to close it out with some semblance of security.
Yeah, I think maybe you also go for the Alola sweep for anybody who's familiar with what happened there. If I get to cast I won't be able to cast a reverse sweep, unfortunately. I now have plans in an hour and a half.
So it looks like it's gonna be Shiznix versus Plus. And we are catching this before that first ban happens, which is nice. And Kinu soaking the ban on Plus's side, guaranteeing that they have no means to heal their back line, with the exception of Volphy bushing and healing itself. So it's going to be a matter of damage output from Shiznix here. And we'll see.
Yeah, I think Shiznix has a particularly scary team because, at least for me personally, the guys and Kinu are my two priority bans. And Shiznix, however, doesn't seem to be afraid of anything in particular. People aren't playing enough waters to threaten his team, which, I mean, a solid water type would really threaten his team. And so he just gets to say, screw it, I'm banning Kinu. And as I've mentioned, I think Kinu is the best time in the game right now to slot onto your team. So, I'm sorry, I haven't said it that way. I've said that Kinu is bullshit.
I would definitely agree. Kinu can slot into any team, and the moveset that Kinu can run is also so variable. Sacrifice, Stonewall, Revitalize. There's so many supportive options that it has. So I definitely understand the first ban of it from both contenders here. But the real question is whether Plus is able to combat the Nagais with everything they have on the back line here. Grandpa not looking especially great into it with the speed flip, and sure enough, we see it get first picked by Shizenix here.
Yeah, as much as I hate Kinu, because again, Kinu is bullshit. Um, I the guys was the first band. Look, you got Mix with Crystal Sparks priority, Size Munch with Size Munch's Wreck priority, Gallus who's always fast, Rays who now is only going to make their team faster under Deceit Aura, and then Vala Grandpa with HKS and Wolfie with Plague. Literally everything on that team wants to go fast, and the guys just says nope, you don't get to. I
Yeah,
think Plus making a pretty big mistake not banning the guys. I think once again, I predict we're going to see the guys come into this and just tear this team apart.
yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think, as you stated, with so much speed presence on Plus's team, leaving something that flips the script there is going to cause them ample problems. And additionally, with the Raikan and the Drakash, that mix is not looking incredibly safe into this lineup.
Honestly, neither is the. Well, I guess Gialis can at least threaten out their cash.
Yeah, that's a that's assuming it's not paired with a Nagais and speed flipping into potentially a slower Drakash and a faster Gialis. But that all comes down to TV spreads.
I do think the line of thought here from Plus was I'll bring my two things that combined will threaten out the guys. But I don't think it's going to be enough. I think my prediction for turn one is Nagai swaps out for Gialis and Embers goes into Wolfie, and now Wolfie is dead to rights by Gialis. And Gialis also doesn't give a shit about the Nox Bomb, so.
Yeah, I definitely don't think we see the Nagais staying in this first turn. I think it offers too much late game potential for Shizenix, but we will have to see. Additionally, I definitely agree with the Rise last pick. I don't think Mix gets you any real estate into this team. Wolfie doesn't care about it. Nagais, the one thing it should be killing, it's not going to be killing.
Yeah, unfortunately, bringing a raise against a potential Deceit Aura team just does feel real bad.
Yeah, that is also true. I think, considering that we've already highlighted it, but killing this mental water tem is priority number one, but with no means to guarantee it stays in and get the kill on it. I think this is going to be an uphill battle for Plus. We'll see how they play around this potentially disadvantageous pick ban.
I'm calling my shot right now. You're going to see Plague, Nox Bomb, and then a guy slap, but that's going to become a Gialis. Raiken's going to hit the Wolfie. My guess is for about 25%.
Alrighty. Gialis coming out, as you've talked about. Let's just see what gets thrown at it here.
30%. That was close.
Alright, 61% done to the Gallus. That is certainly not enough to threaten it out here. Additionally, the resistant trait potentially stopping handcuffs from working, considering Gallus did not hit that exhausted status. So there's no guarantee that it has to stay in, but I also see no reason for it to leave. A solid hook kick into the Wolfie spells doom, and there's no way for the Voloran to protect it this turn.
Yep, and nothing wants to eat that hook kick on the side of Plus. So something is eating a hook kick. And I'm guessing whatever eats that hook kick also eats a Meteor Storm.
Additionally, even if they throw out Rise, I would argue probably the least useful Tem on Plus's side to eat that hook kick. It's also potentially speeding up the entirety of Shizunix's side late game, which we see happen.
Yep. So I think the Rise was the only line of play here. But I don't think it's going to be enough.
All right, Ember's going out on the Volarend, doing a significant chunk, especially with that burn damage. This is going to be a difficult one here, and I don't think Shizunix even cares about the Gialis being low HP at this point. It's already done a significant job threatening the field, and it's also taken all the aggro away from the Raikan, which, as we've seen in the previous matches, is not a great thing to just let run loose.
No, exactly. And I mean, now the guys is somewhat free to even come back in here, but it might not even be necessary. You could just go ahead and bring your own Wolfie in. I feel like Shizunex has a line of good potential plays, whereas Plus was on the back foot immediately with that turn one, because he had to go all in on the guys, but because the guys swapped out, it was just an easy enough play to read and retaliate to, and the momentum there is just gone for Plus. He's off the back foot. He's gonna have a really amazing play to pull this one back.
Yeah, I would agree. I think he was put on the back foot after that first ban. And now we have Raikan has the potential to Embers into the Volarend, chunking it more. I don't think Meteor Swarm gets it a special amount of utility on this field, and I would argue it's probably best to save it for a turn. You might think Gialis is coming out. And Volarend, even with that special defensive buff, it does nothing to it living in a Crystal Bite and Embers double in.
No, I doubt. I don't think Shiznek should be too willing to throw away his Gialis just yet. But all right, Rise coming off the field, back for Volfi. I understand this line of thinking. Ooh.
And Crystal Bite, probably complemented with the Embers, might spell doom for this Volarend here. And Gialis not even going down to the Feather Gatling. And once again, a prideful proc coming off. This is looking very difficult for Plus.
Okay, so there is one thing now. Gialis is slow, which means Dust Vortex outspeeds Gialis again. And actually, you don't even need the Dust Vortex at this point. Plague would do the trick. So Gialis is no longer able to beat Wolfie. However, yeah, this is what I was afraid of. Nothing on this field. You either have to threaten the Gialis or threaten the Reich.
I think we're likely to see a Dust Vortex directed towards the Raikan, and just a simple move from Rise, likely Embers, whatever's the lowest stamina, directed towards Gialis. But if the Shizunex reads that and pops out the Drakash, that's going to do next to nothing. And plus, even with Volfi on the field, doesn't have an incredible way to threaten Drakash and Raikan simultaneously. Dust Vortex doesn't do enough to Drakash's high base special defense to one-shot it, and Raikan certainly isn't going down this turn either.
That's a very good point. Yeah, I think that's probably the right play then for Shizunex. I am Drakash novice. I just started playing with it, so I'm not used to using it, but I think you're totally right. Don't sack the Gialis here. Nothing threatens this Raikan enough. Especially, let's keep in mind, if it wants to Dust Vortex the Raikan, it's going to have to do it through a burn, most likely. It's at -1 speed, so maybe not.
Additionally, to further add on to your point about not sacking the Gialis, when the Nagais hits the field, and is back out. That Gialis is suddenly the fastest Tim on the field with that -2 speed, meaning that if they want to land one more heavy hit, they'll be able to do it. So just it's all about getting both those Tims safely on the field at the same time, and Shiznix can at least power out one last heavy hitting attack.
Yeah, I really do like what I'm seeing from Shiznix here with the combination of being able to go fast and slow. It's a very clever team building. Or maybe this is the niche for Raikkonen. I might have to steal this idea.
Alright. Wow. Okay. Dust Vortex did a lot more than I expected onto that Raiken. Either frail special defenses or very high special attack on the Wolfie. And
yeah, I will say the raised debuffs helped a lot here. The fact that Raiken was at -1 speed instead of +2 is or +1, sorry, is definitely what allowed that to happen, because otherwise Raiken would have gone first, and that would have done 30% less thanks to the burn debuff. However, there's a much larger problem. With Wolfie this low and Valorant gone, the guys cleans up the rest of this game. There's plus no longer has a way to kill the guys. So, I think sacking the Gialis, sacking the Raiken, doing everything to this point, Shiznix is playing to his win condition of I put the guys on the field and you can't kill it, and plus wasn't able to hold on.
I would definitely agree with that line of thinking.
I guess the one thing he could maybe do is with Gialis, but I don't think that's happening.
Trying to save the Wolfie for later, and potentially get hold off on the the Grandpa here. Fire Tornado going out on a Raiken just to make sure it doesn't get one last attack off, but now that's a free swap in for Shiznix, and Drakash doesn't especially mind this field. So I think we're likely to see it come in, or Nagais.
Yeah, Nagais loves this field. Because here's the thing, as I mentioned before, Wolfie tends to be slower than Gialis. So now with Nagais on the field, even if he wants to bring in Gialis to try and beat the guys up, Wolfie's Dust Vortex is online.
Additionally, probably trying to get ready to get hold off and bring out Fury. But
yeah, I mean, I think
that Nagais does not currently have any hold, if I can recall correctly. I think it immediately left.
You are correct, but it's getting a free hold this turn. I'd even go so far as to say it's getting a free madness buff this. The guys does come in with a madness buff. This is not going to kill the Rays. That burn really helping it out there. This HKS. Ooh. Wolfie has pretty high special defense.
Yeah, not doing quite enough. And after Raiken got chunked by that Dust Vortex, Plus is even in a greater precarious position. Luckily, though, I think damage onto Rise versus damage onto Grandpa is probably what Plus wants. Rise is doing the least to Shiznix's backfield, and Grandpa, while not doing an incredible amount, certainly can chunk a couple things here and there, but with Nagais on the field, it's always going to be going last.
Yep. I think, ooh, interesting. Oh my gosh, lives with 0.5%. It can still pick off this, oh, it doesn't need to pick anything off.
Yikes. A full wipe on Plus's side. And Sandstorm certainly would have secured it. And now, I would argue that this is probably when we see Gialis come out. Exactly, because suddenly this Gialis is the fastest thing on the field, and it can underspeed everything and kill this Volphy outright.
And if I remember correctly, Plus's goal, Gallus does not have any hold at this point.
Yep, so the Nagais isn't even especially scared of the field. And Drakash in the back line might even be swapped in this turn, because Decidora will still proc. Oh, nope, stays in. Nothing to worry about,
No.
clearly. Oh, especially with the Madness buff coming out, doing so much, and hook kick into the Gialis just to make sure that the Drakash in the back is safe. This is definitely looking like things are wrapping up here. Shiznix has been running an absolute train here towards Transcendent, or Transcend.
I mean, Tiki complaining that the guy is too strong. I would argue, Tiki, that people just aren't. I agree with Senior Platt here. People are not building their teams to respect the guys, and then they're also choosing not to ban. If you are going to pretend that if you're just going to ignore the equivalent of Trick Room and then not remove it from potential, then you deserve to lose.
Wow, a one-shot on the Drakash from the Volphy. That did a much more than I expected, especially considering Drakash had pretty decent special defense. My earlier call of Drakash being safe into a Dust Vortex was wholeheartedly wrong.
Yeah, that shocked me too, but ultimately it doesn't matter. The guys coming up pick this out.
Wow. Another one under Shiznix's belt. This has been pretty incredible.
I said it at the end of the last game, Transcend, and I'm going to say it again. Ban the damn guys. Shiznix, though, playing like a madman, honestly. His team is very well crafted. I am personally a huge fan of the Doppelganger Brooch Gialis. I play it as well because it turns Gialis into a nice little Gialis counter. But, yeah, I mean, he's just playing he's playing out of his mind. It's not just in the guys, although I do think that you gotta have a team that can deal with it, or you gotta ban that. Unfortunately, like I mentioned for Plus's team there, pretty much everything was either fast or utilized priority to do well. You take that away and it's over.
Additionally, I think, harkening back to the pick ban, I don't think a single Kinu buff onto another member of Shiznix's team was going to spell doom and sway momentum the same way that Decidora could.
Yeah, as somebody who struggles with not banning Kinu and the guys, my last team had to choose between those two. I always picked them. I tried letting the guys through a grand total of twice and got murdered. So I decided that it had to be the guys. But on a team like that with pluses, it's very fast, and given how squishy most of his Thames were, I'm guessing he doesn't have a lot of bulk. So Kinu buffs really mess with that, because then it turns something, it should be a 2 KO into a 3 or 4, and when you're running squish and you can't heal that back up, that causes you problems. But I do agree with you. The guys was the bigger threat. Kinu can at least be taken out in one turn. So, Shiznix, that's a 4-0, isn't it?
Yeah, it's currently sitting that way. And just a reminder to everybody, we have another Club Wars match later tonight at 6 p.m. GMT. We haven't quite decided who's going to be streaming it, but that is absolutely something to look forwards to. Some more exciting comp matches. And now it just comes down to whether whether Lodi can bring this back with a reverse 5-0 of their own. All right, Lodi with the interesting team. A lot of the old Tuckma boys coming out. I would definitely agree with the Kama first ban. Getting rid of the water threat, it means that that Drakash and Raikin are once again problematic, and the Seismunch also doesn't want to eat any water attacks. They're hovering their ban marker over Volphi, and once again, the Nagais is let through. Probably threatened out by this Cernif.
I don't think it's threatened completely out, though. I hate to see this. Now, Cernif is an appropriate Nagai's counter. Because it has Fron Whip, it will murder the living crap out of Nagais. Nagais cannot stay in turn 1 versus either because it can't do enough to Cernif, and it will get chunked with Wako. Oh, he's not first picking it, though. So I'm betting the Nagai's man comes out now.
Yep. Just as you said, and now that Raikan getting a Kinu buff turn 1, that's going to be a big issue for Lodi here with that triple crystal core. Seismunch is going to have to do a lot to take this thing out, and Kinu really isn't pressured out of the field this first turn, so we could very likely see a beta burst into the Seismunch, chunking at turn 1.
Yeah, that is going to be a big problem, isn't it?
I also I see Trot in chat mentioning that they don't think Naga was the right ban, and even though Naga's caused so many problems in previous matches, I have to agree. I think with the triple crystal core, as well as the Volorend and the Cernif, there's so many answers to it that potentially getting rid of that secondary fire might have been the better call. And also, Seismunch still threatens this triple crystal core as well. There's a lot of problems on the field here. Once again, on Shizenex's side of the field, so we'll have to see how this plays out.
I don't know. I think I still do agree with the Nagai's ban. Because a lot of the strength in all three of these crystal users is their C spikes, which Nagai's rips that strength away.
That's true.
It's as somebody mentioned earlier, it's not necessarily Nagai's that's single-handedly the problem. It's whoever's partnered with Nagai's. So all of a sudden, you can't see spikes before. I don't know. You can't see spikes before the uppercut comes out from Seismunch or the Seismunch's rack or even the Hypno from Kinu. If you just want to try and see spikes, Kinu can all of a sudden just put you to sleep before you can pull that off. So true. I still agree, potentially, just based off Lodi's team needing to utilize its priority between water cutting Lily, Seismunch's rack, and sea spikes, that Nagai's was still going to cause him problems. I do, however, unfortunately for Lodi, agree that his team does not match up well against Shizenex. I mean, triple crystal versus double fire Seismunch, that's rough. Triple crystal Cernif, no less.
And Cernif really isn't going to be getting much mileage this game against anything but the Seismunch. You could argue it gets neutral damage into the Drakash, which has frail physical defenses. So saving that thing for later absolutely makes sense. Volorend coming out, a relatively safe swap. It's going to definitely take a hefty number from everything on the field here, but it's not going to be completely out of commission if it got doubled into.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that 48.7% is what I'm eyeing right now, meaning that a second beta burst puts this monkey out of commission, and without a single melee Tim in sight, there is no wreck priority boost. So this Kinu is free to just fire away.
It's not entirely free because it's still not going to enjoy Rack Nox Bomb. I don't know Shiznex's spread on this Kinu. I assume it's somewhat tanky, but another line of play would just be to put the damn Valorant to sleep, eat the Nox Bomb, or eat the Size Muncher's Rack with his own Valorant.
I think the point that I was trying to get at is that another wreck wouldn't come out.
Ah, fair enough. Looks like you called it, though.
Beta Burst, Toxic Plume, getting that attack down on the Raikan, but with Prideful still potentiality, especially with a Meteor Swarm onto a Valash, that might not matter for long.
Yeah, now there's not a lot threatening this Raikan back out. It can just get that attack buff back up.
Yep, and that snare from the Kinu, that was eaten by the, I believe the Volorend? Meaning that Volorend is left without its equipment.
Which is definitely going to hurt. We don't know what that equipment was. It wasn't identified for us, but my guess goes to Doppelganger Brooch. Now, what I'm expecting is Shiznax now has a field. Raiken's safe to stay. Raiken doesn't care. It can just... Embers goes burr for Raiken because nothing wants to deal with it, Embers. Size Munch could come out here for the side of Shiznax on the Kinus.
Alright, Volorend coming out for that Kinu. And Major Slash, potentially a physical Valash here. Definitely a physical Valash with that damage. And Feather Gatling into the Volorend. But Ember's cleaning up the Valash and starting that prideful spiral. This could be quite problematic for Lodi here.
He doesn't have another melee to get the priority off on this wreck. The Sriken is now a +1, and it's even on its attack. I really wonder if we don't just see a double in HKS Embers or HKS Fire Tornado onto the Scythe Munch.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that as we saw in the previous match, Fire Tornado is definitely in its moveset, and with that +1 special attack, that'll be hurting just that little bit extra.
Yeah, I mean, HKS, I would predict it probably does about 30% at this point. Do I think Fire Tornado could pick up the other 20? I'd say possibly. Especially, I can't remember if this is aerobic or anaerobic Vala on the side of Shiznax. Do you remember?
On the side of Shiznax, I believe it was shown to be anaerobic. Because this match, I believe it's only thrown out Feather Gatlings, and it hasn't gotten any boosts.
Oh, and Shiznax, has it even attacked yet?
Oh, that's true. I'm thinking of Lodi's Volorend, but I'm still fairly confident that Shiznax is an anaerobic as well. We'll see at the end of this hyper.
Ooh, doing a bit more than 30%. You're not even going to need the... It was, in fact, aerobic, which was what I was wondering. Now that means it's fast, that HKS. I'll get to that in a second. Let's see what happens from this Embers. Oh!
And with the burn, that is...
I think Fire NATO was the play.
And it lives the wreck, even with the +2 attack, which puts Lodi even more so on the back foot. I would argue that both their options here, whether it be Cernif or Mix, does not want to deal with this Raikan, and certainly neither of them want to deal with the Drakash or the Size Munch in the back.
Yeah. I think you'd just bring in the Kinu again. Potentially go for a quick revitalize on the Raikan. Oh, he's going for the Drakash, though. Interesting.
I can definitely understand the Drakash play, considering they threaten both of the Thames in the back.
I guess my line of thinking was that Drakash on turn 1 doesn't do a lot. So maybe you could bring out the Kinu and get another buff on Raikan and then swap out to your Drakash and something else.
Additionally, there's the potential we see a Mud Shower into Meteor Swarm. That Raikan has done its job and then some, so OXing here really isn't that big of a problem, especially considering that Raikan's just hoping to live through this turn. And I think that +1 speed guarantees it gets an attack off before it goes.
Well, the only problem, Meteor Swarm, maybe not, because it's a 1 prio move.
That's true.
So, however, Mud Shower Embers, does Mud Shower put Mix into 40% range? I doubt it. But he's just saying, I'm going to keep that Raikan in the back for later. Out comes Kinu. Oh my god.
And energy manipulation into the Kinu slot, and Mud Shower doing an absolute wallop to the Mix, but keeping it at 41.8, meaning that Mix is not safe to anything, but with Hellfire online, it wouldn't have been safe regardless.
Yeah, unfortunately, Hellfire just, I think, ends both of these Thames. It might not kill Cernif, but Cernif is not known for its special defense stat. It'll hurt it bad if it doesn't kill it. And Valorant, sitting at 44% HP in the back, doesn't want to eat a free Hellfire either. Kinu's probably dead to rights from the sea spikes, but oof, this is looking bad.
Back into Volerend, probably trying to avoid getting steamrolled this turn, and Cernif doesn't even do 50% to this Drakash. So that's going to be a big issue, especially when it's getting doubled into. But it lives. It'll get at least one more Water Cutting Lily off, and pair that with a Feather Gatling from the Volerend, and they should be able to take out the Drakash. But I don't think that's enough.
I wouldn't be so sure. I think, man, honestly, there's no reason not to just bring in somebody else. Keep this Drakash in the back. Okay, Bush was a play.
And the Volerend doesn't live that Fire Tornado. Meaning that once again, oh no. That Drakash isn't dying from anything this next turn.
Nope, I do believe Hellfire is going to clean up this game. Oh, Lodi says, I don't even want to see the super cool animation. Says next, congrats on your 5-0. That is just amazing.
Yeah, Shiznax did an incredible job today. Both teams played very well. Shiznax obviously played exceptional. But some really great matches today. I was super happy to help cast them with you, Arguro, and I really appreciate everybody who stopped by